I think that when you go soloing in alpine environments especially, you are completely alone out there and you get a perspective on your life that is quite removed from what you're actually doing. You see very clearly what you're doing. It's a crazy thing to be doing. It's a crazy environment to be in. Also, I think that there's just this strange wisdom that comes from being in that kind of environment and really getting in tune with it. You come back from an experience like that a changed person. My name is Quentin Roberts. I'm a professional climber. I come from Canada, although I come from a lot of different places really. I lived in Germany and South Africa before moving to Canada when I was 17. I started working with Arc'teryx when I was really quite young. I got to know Justin Sweeney, the athlete manager, through Brett Harrington and Marc-Andre. And they've really supported me and my climbing and my life outside of climbing throughout. That includes getting involved with the design team. Like I studied mechanical engineering and I'm really into design and the technical side of climbing. And it's been really cool to have the opportunity to work with the design team on lots of the things. Like over the last 8 years, I've worked closely as a sort of an athlete tester and provided feedback on the gear and how it could be improved. But recently I've actually gone into the design center and worked closely on the testing of new product that will be coming out in future years, and that's been really cool too. I started climbing when I was really young on the south coast of Wales, top roping off of Seacliff Stakes. I probably only really started properly gym climbing when I was a teenager, sort of 16 years old in South Africa. But I did have the opportunity to be part of an alpine climbing team when I was at school in Germany. And we went out to the Alps and I had experience walking on glaciers. It was all really guided. So South Africa was kind of the first time that I felt like I was climbing for myself, by myself. But yeah, when I was climbing as a kid, like from 7 to 17 kind of, I was probably more stoked on skateboarding. My parents pushed climbing a lot in those years because it was, I guess, less of a hoodlummy kind of hood rat, smoking, doing bad things sport. So I did go to the gym a lot and do that. And I loved climbing throughout, but I think that I really got hooked when I moved to Canada and it became my own thing. I stopped skateboarding as much and I went all in. I would describe my climbing style or my ideal route to climb as something that really immerses you into the landscape. And similarly, I feel most alive when I'm in that kind of a place. Like if you're alone on a huge icy north face, you're really, really immersed into a landscape and you feel really, really alive. That's definitely the most intense, cool, wild, alive feeling I think that I've felt. I would say that my style of climbing and my ideal route to climb is one that's very difficult, relatively safe, and demands a lot from you, like demands you to dig really deep. Also, I think it needs to be quite beautiful. I don't care so much about repeating routes quickly or getting records or anything like that. For me, it's a lot more about the experience. And if you climb a really difficult route, then usually it takes a long time. And I think that time is what you need to really engage with the landscape. Like what really drives me or what I'm really looking for in my climbing, I think is fundamentally, I'd say that I'm looking for adventure. I'm looking for some amount of self-discovery. And you can find that through first ascents maybe more easily than if you repeat routes. But it doesn't really have to be a first ascent, like that's not the main motive. The motive is the self-discovery and the adventure or the complexity of what you're trying to do. I think that way you really immerse yourself into the experience a lot more. I think that like a partner is a really important part of the climbing experience. It's really important for me to connect with my partner and to feel close to them. I need to trust them absolutely. I need to believe that they will rescue me if something goes wrong. Going on an alpine climb, especially in the style that I was just talking about, will inevitably bring you a lot closer to your partner. And so I want to do that. Like I want to be closer to my partner if that happens. And I think similarly, like if you're soloing, it brings you closer to yourself, which is also a really important part of the whole experience. By soloing, I just mean being alone. And I do it in like if it's pure free soloing. I don't know if you consider like soloing without a rope but with ice axes and crampons free soloing or not. I think it's like a definition thing for different people to decide what they want to call it, because ice climbing is kind of aid climbing, you know what I mean? And whatever seems to make sense. Like in Patagonia, the solos that I've done, I usually have a rope with me because you need them to go down. Or it's a lot easier to use the rope to go down than to down climb with ice axes. But then in other situations where there's a hike off the top and it feels like a full commitment style of soloing, then I might leave the rope behind. It depends a lot on the route and what I want to do and what I want to get out of the whole experience. I wouldn't say it's an essential part of my climbing, but it is an essential part of who I am. Like, it's shaped me as a human massively. When you go soloing, in alpine environments especially, you are completely alone out there, and you get a perspective on your life that is quite removed from what you're actually doing. You see very clearly what you're doing. It's a crazy thing to be doing. It's a crazy environment to be in. And you see the truth of why you're there. You see if you're there because you want to impress people or for other accolades, or you see if you're there because you really love it. And it's all very, very clear. You know, I think you get an understanding of, I mean, for lack of a better way of describing it, like 5% because you're psyched to tell people that you soloed in this face, and then 95% because you're really psyched to be there. But it's very obvious what that is when you're there, and I think that gives you a huge amount of insight into your life and your motivations. I think that there's just this strange wisdom that comes from being in that kind of environment and really getting in tune with it. You know, you come back from an experience like that a changed person, and an empowered person in some way or another. Climbing has had a huge impact on my life. It's been there always in my memory, and I imagine and I hope that it will be there always in the future. I hope that it doesn't define who I am. I definitely think that I need to be somebody much beyond that, and I have huge dreams in the big mountains, and I think that there's a lot for me to discover in that pursuit. But yeah, I dream much beyond that, and I dream beyond climbing. But without climbing, I wouldn't be able to maybe go to where I hope to go in my life, if that makes any sense.